The continuity of English literature is divided into phases called periods. These periods are generally known after the monarch of the day. We have Elizabethan period, Caroline period, Jacobean period, and so on. Likewise, the period between 1649 and 1660 is known as the Commonwealth Period. It has got its own place in the continuity of English literature for different reasons. In this video, we will have a look at all these things that are related to the Commonwealth period. The Commonwealth period is also known as the Puritan Interregnum. Puritan Puritan is a diehard Christian who strongly believes that God has bestowed life upon us just for the purpose of being in His service and not for other things. Likewise, interregnum is a break in two successive governments. So, Puritan interregnum is the period of 12 years during which a tribe of Christians, a kind of Christians called Puritans, had taken the rule of government in their own hands. These Puritans were led by Oliver Cromwell. Oliver Cromwell is better known as Lord Protector. It was under the able leadership of Oliver Cromwell, Puritans removed the government or the monarchy that was there in place, and they occupied the places of power. The Puritans had become very powerful, and in 1642 they got all the theatres closed because they felt that theatres were giving entertainment, theatres were taking the Christians away from what God had destined or ordained for them. So they ordered the closure of theatres in 1642. Slowly they grew in power, and in 1649 they went to the level of beheading Charles I, who was the ruling monarch. As a result, Charles II, the son of Charles I, he was afraid for his life, fearing that he may also meet the same fate. He left England and he took refuge in the neighboring kingdom of France. So what we have to understand is the Puritans were becoming a power to reckon with. They went to the extent of killing Charles I, the monarch of England, and fearing for his own life, his son Charles II took exile in the neighboring kingdom of France. So almost all literary activity, especially drama or theatre, had come to an end. Poetry was permitted, that too religious poetry was permitted, and Milton was himself a Puritan, so he was made the Latin secretary during this particular period. Milton was a Puritan himself, and he sympathized with the Puritan cause, as a result of which, during the period that the Puritans were in power, he was anointed with the position of the Latin secretary, which was a plum posting. This government, the rule of the Puritans, went on from 1649 up to 1660, but by 1658 it had become very weak because in 1658 the Puritans lost their leader, the great protector Oliver Cromwell, as a result of which degeneration had set in and slowly it crumbled under its own weight. The Puritans, who had come to power in 1649 under the guidance and leadership of the great protector called Oliver Cromwell, became very weak following his death in 1658. Sensing that now things were getting congenial, because there was no risk for his life, Charles II, who was taking refuge in the neighboring kingdom of France, came back to England in 1660 and he re-established the rule of the Stuart dynasty. So these are very important years, these are landmark years in the history of England. Charles I was beheaded in 1649, and fearing for his own life, his son Charles II had run away to France. And during this particular period, Oliver Cromwell, who is known as Lord Protector, ruled England, and he died in 1658. Now that things were congenial, Charles II got back to England and re-established the Stuart dynasty in England. So, these are things related to English history. Anyhow, they had their own bearing upon English literature as well. Following the coming back of Charles II in 1660, theatres were reopened, and at the same time, a lot many changes came about in literature, especially drama. It gave rise to a new kind of drama called comedy of manners. Thank you for watching.